Dr. Graham kindly agreed to answer a few of our questions, and one of those, the first one would be, I mean, most obvious and actual for Russian people, would be, do you have any tips or special suggestions for those who transfer to raw food lifestyle already on it, but experience some difficulties due to Russian climate, which is cold winter, basically? We have some places almost 9 months of snow, and so forth. So keep
9 months
yourself
of
warm.
snow.
Keep yourself. I mean, you live in Britain. That's
It's cold and wet.
Yeah, it's cold and wet. In Russia, it's less wet. Some areas are wet on the seaside, but inland Russia, like Moscow, is pretty cold. Yeah, you can have, it's normal to have minus 15 during winter, and snow for like from November till March or even April.
Well, yes, I have a few thoughts on cold weather. First of all, if you're trying to live outside, naked, and eat frozen food while sitting on the street in some cold city, you're probably going to die before the night is over. Fortunately, people on 80-10-10 usually live in homes that have heat, and they wear clothing, and they have blankets. And so they're really not relying on the food to make them warm. We rely upon activity to generate heat, and clothing and bedding and the heat of our house to help us hold on to the heat that we generate. I'm not recommending that you eat cold food in the wintertime. Pull it out of the fridge and eat it and see how much you can tolerate. 80-10-10 is not a hardship. You must learn strategies. You must learn to keep your fruit on countertops. Or if you're going to have salad, to take it out of the fridge a few hours before you eat it so it's not so cold. But the beauty is that you have heat in your house. You probably eat your food sitting at your table at the same temperature that somebody in South Florida eats their food. They cool their house down to that temperature that you heat your house up to. And so I don't think the cold is really an issue. To be honest, when I think of the warmest I've been in the last few years, the warmest I've been has been when I'm shoveling snow. When I'm shoveling snow, I get very warm.
That's where you sweat.
Okay, and so I have to be careful not to, in fact, to sweat. I have to open up my layers, and I'm down to shirtless and I'm shoveling snow, trying. It's quite funny actually. So I don't think that cold per se is a problem, but we do have, there are changes that happen to a person on 80-10-10 where the average temperature, the body temperature of a person who's eating cooked food, the average body temperature is typically about 98, or what do we call it in centigrade? You use centigrade.
Yeah, we have 36,
so we're talking 36 roughly. On a raw food diet, the average body temperature is somewhere between 34 and 35. This is pretty cool relatively. And so we have to get used to this new body temperature, and that change requires a little bit of an adaptation. It might require adding one extra layer of clothing. It might require being a little more active. Typically for most people within a year or two, they've gotten used to that new body temperature. But we have to understand there are places in the world that you might go, a movie theater, for instance, where they keep it very cool, and that's because most people are burning up. And when you become a raw fooder and you're not burning up anymore and you go into a cool place, it's going to feel even cooler to you. This is more of a consideration than a food problem. And this is just a matter of wearing an extra layer of clothing until you get used to it, especially if you were 120 kilos on a cooked food diet and you drop down to 80 kilos on a raw food diet, and now you're an 80-kilo man, but you've lost 40 kilos of insulation. Fat is an insulation, and when you lose 40 kilos, A, you're not doing the work to carry it around, and B, you're not wearing your coat anymore. You have to make up for this a little bit with some extra layers of clothing. this is a very little thing. Really, it's not about the food making you hot or cold, but we do have to adapt and take into consideration that the body does go through some changes, and we have to make allowances.
Thank you. It's pretty clear. That's how I survived my first winter, basically doing the same thing.
Hot bath
Now
every
it's
now and
the
then.
second one to come. Yeah. I run away to Southeast Asia.
Yeah, that works very good.
And